Hello, everybody. Whoever's watching this little video and this short story of mine, it's a true story. My brother in law, Richard, who lives in New Zealand, I just spoke to him over the phone. And when I learned that he is going to the prisons of New Zealand and preaching the gospel to prisoners, so I thought I must tell him about myself, because it's it's in jail that I met Jesus. Now this happened about 40 years ago when I was hardly 21 years, and before that I used to be a rowdy. I'll tell you my story in short, because I cannot post a long video for you, Richard, to share with the people that you talk to. Before the age of 20, when I was a teen, I was a kind of a rowdy rascal of the school, fighting with people, because I always had this in me that to fight, and I was violent. And I wanted to do something big, something big, something big, something big. So on 13th of March 1982, I found something big that I did. I robbed the State Bank of India. Me and four more friends of mine, we barged into the bank with loaded guns, and we robbed the bank. Thank God nobody died, nobody got killed, but within 2 or 3 minutes we were out of the bank with all the money. And we were duly arrested by that same evening by the police. And I remember I was hardly 20 or 21 years old at that time. And we were sent to jail. And in jail, the case began in the court. So every 15 days, every fortnight, we used to be taken to the court. And because I used to follow the devil, and I used to actually pray to the devil, because in the churches and all, I felt like Jesus is a too peaceable God who died on the cross, was nailed to the cross with thorns on a crown of thorns on his head, and he preached what? He preached that if anyone shows you slaps you on one cheek, show the other cheek. So that picture of a beaten God was in my mind, and I did not like it. That's why I followed the devil. Anyway, but in jail, about for a year the case went on, and I decided that I was afraid, because if I get sentenced, I might be for many years in jail. So I wanted to come out. So for the first time, I prayed, or what I would call talked to Jesus. I said, Jesus, if I get released from this case, then I will serve you. But if I get sentenced by the court, then I will fight you like never before. And the plan that I made in my mind was, there were about 2,000 prisoners in the jail. I thought I will smuggle in poison and put it in the food and kill 2,000 prisoners. So that will be my fight against God, by killing 2,000 of His creation. So with this set of mind, I went to the court on the judgment day, and I was sentenced to 7 years of rigorous imprisonment, which is the minimum actually, considering my age and the first crime and the family background and all. They did give me the minimum sentence of 7 years. So I was in jail for 7 years. This is in Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, that's central India. Actually, this Jabalpur is a city which is actually the center of India, and that's where I am speaking from. And this is where it happened, and I went to jail. So when I was sentenced for 7 years, I went back into the jail, and then I started planning on doing that. What can I do to fight against God? But I started taking drugs, lots of tablets, LSD, Mandrakes, Gardneril, and other tablets from the hospital and all, and I used to be on drugs. So one day I got this drug reaction, and I got these blisters between my fingers and on my testicles, and I was suffering in pain and high fever from the drug reaction in jail. And I that was the time when I just broke down and I started crying. I said, no, I'm only human. I cannot fight against God. And I think that's the time when Jesus came into my heart. The next day I was admitted into the hospital, and I stayed in the hospital for about a year, and I recovered from everything and all. But then I said that I spoke to Jesus twice. Once was when I threatened him, and the second time when I pleaded, asked for mercy to help me, because I was suffering from that reaction of those drugs. And I wrote to one sister, Miss Grace Lal, a little postcard, and I said I want a copy of the Bible. So she came and she gave me her copy of the Bible, and when I started reading the Bible, I read it from Genesis to Revelation once. I again went back to Genesis and I read it a second time, and I read and I read and I read and I read the Bible, and then the picture of Jesus, the true picture of Jesus, came to me loud and clear, that Jesus was not a beaten man, not a beaten God, and victory over death and his fight and his victory. So then onwards, in jail, I started preaching the gospel. I started telling everybody that Jesus is not a beaten God who died on the cross. Jesus is a living God who rose from the dead, and he said that he's going to come back soon. And he preached only about another kingdom, not of this world. So now I'm living in this world physically, but my heart, my mind and my soul is set on the unseen, on things that are in heaven, where Jesus promised those mansions of gold. And I studied a lot about the signs of the times and the end time, and I know that Jesus is going to come back very soon and we'll all be in heaven. So this was my story in short, and the title of it is, I used to be a rowdy for the devil against Jesus, but now I'm a rowdy for Jesus, fighting the devil and his forces. And the second thing is, I met Jesus in jail. So you may not meet Jesus in the church, but you definitely will meet him in jail. For those prisoners who are in the jails of New Zealand, remember that Jesus also is in jail with you. Bye, Richard. Thank you so much. And you promised to share this story with the people you talk to. So if anytime you want any more about what happened and my experiences, I'll definitely be happy to share it. Bye for now. Bye, 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 bye.